Okay, so we can start with the Ku Klux Klan, or just called the Klan. That was a movement in the U.S. which played a violent role against African Americans in the South during the Reconstruction era of the 1860s. Half century later, they became a large controversial nationwide organization active in the US in the 1920s. Okay, so 30 years later, the Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia War began on the 1st November 1955 and did not end until April 30th, 1975. So the US took part in this war to fight against communism. During the Vietnam War, John Fitzgerald Kennedy became the president of the US on January 20th, 1961, but died on November 22nd, 1963, assassinated in his car. That's how Lyndon B. Johnson succeeded him from 1963 to 1969. The same year of his election, George Wallace made a vain attempt to halt the enrollment of two black students, Vivian Malone and James Hood, in the University of Alabama in 1963. 2 years later, the largest anti-war protest in the U.S. history was done in Washington, D.C. On November 27th, 1965, to fight against the Vietnam War and all the violence of it. The next year, the Black Panther Party was created. It was a revolutionary black nationalist and socialist organization active in the US from 1966 until 1982. 5 years after the assassination of his brother, Bobby Kennedy, born on November 20th, 1925, died on June the 6th, 1968, while he was the senator of New York, killed by Shiran Shiran, a 24 years old Palestinian. The next year, Richard Nixon became the 37th president of the US on January 20th, 1969. It was the only president of the US to resign the office. The same year of his election, the US reaches the moon. It's the moon landing. And finally, we can talk about the Watergate. That was a major political scandal that occurred in the US in the 1970s as a result of the June 17th, 1972, a break-in at the Democratic National Committee (DNC) headquarters in Washington, and the Nixon administration's attempted cover-up of its involvement, equality in education, housing, employment, or civil rights.